So 50 Cent says he basically gave half of the documentary album, Game documentary. He basically took his best records off the Massacre, gave it to Game. 50 Cent says the Massacre was meant to be an album about imperfections, instead it leading to being a more sexual album because he gave the original singles Hate It or Love It and How We Do to the Game. Hate It or Love It, How We Do, classic rap songs. Just giving that away is insane. So let's see. Believe that's Steve Stout.
That motherfucking...
Yeah.
That's a big-ass boy. Talk about that.
You know what? Look, that was material that I prepared for my second album, right? My second album, it didn't have anything sexual on it. The plan was for it to just be balanced correctly, and it didn't have anything that was like soft to it. It was more about imperfections, Steve, right? So it was like me talking about, being confused is the most vulnerable state for an artist in general. So I'm pointing to growing up, I was confused. My mommy's kissing a girl.
Confusion occurs coming up in a cold world, yeah.
And these are
probably uncommitted felonies
to write about. It's not the coolest thing to say from an artist's perspective. We can think of things to say about ourselves.
Because I remember when that song Hate It or Love It first came out, 50 Cent just rapped the first couple bars. When he said his mom was kissing a girl part, like that kind of threw people off a bit. So I can understand why he's saying, why he's reacting like this.
And I was trying to make that cool. Like my imperfection is cool. Like, how I'm a big go black and ugly as ever.
However, I say Cool G down to the socks, yeah.
You couldn't say he was black and ugly as ever. If you did, it didn't matter because he
already said it, yeah.
On his head. So if anybody said those things at any point later in my career, it left me in a place where I was secure because I did it first on this hit record. But I ended up giving those things, just being conditioned to write. I gave them the game. I gave them games out.
You gave him 2 joints.
I gave him that.
No, he gave him more than 2.
This is how we do.
This is how we do. That was
fire.
How we do. That record, I recorded it in California, and the only reason why Game album came out is because I wouldn't give them the song unless that was the single that they launched him. Because Dre's such a perfectionist that he would have sat there longer. He had already spent a year in the studio with him. I spent 4 days.
So 50 Cent is saying, yo, I'm the reason the documentary even came out. Because Game, you was in the studio. You was about to get put on a shelf by Dre, like a whole bunch of other rappers at the time on Aftermath were on the shelf. Never to come out again, never to be seen or heard from again. Shout out to Bishop Lamont, shout out to Stat Quo, but this is the facts. These are the facts.
Facts!
50 was like, yo, I gave you a single to help you get out the door. And by the way, yo, just giving Game, like, yo, here's 2 hip-hop classics. I don't need them. Boom, here's Hate It or Love It, hip-hop classic. Yeah. Here's How We Do.
This is how we do.
Not just a hip-hop classic, How We Do. That's a West Coast classic song. Just being like, yo, here, that's yours. If you Game, like, how could you ever diss this man? This man gave you, and the Game and 50 rap beef is one of my favorites. And Game actually destroyed him. The G-Unit and 50 Cent. 50 Cent really never responded like that to Game. He had a record called Not Rich, Still Lying, which was like more of a parody record. But 50 uncharacteristically never really responded to Game. And at that time, 50 was going at it with everybody. D-Block, Nas, Rick Ross. Game, he responded, but it wasn't a rap beef like you're used to seeing with 50. Maybe that has to do something with Dre. Maybe was 50 afraid of Game as an MC? I don't know.
But I spent 4 days recording with him because all I did was mute the things that I had for the new record.
He's saying, yo, I already had completed records. You was in the studio for a year plus with Dre. I came in 4 days. We finished what we had to finish. Because all I did was take my completed records, Hate It or Love It, which was 50 Cent probably by himself. I took that and I just muted my part where your verse comes in, and boom. You got the flow, you got the subject matter. Game, all you got to do is rap. This is #1 regardless of who else is on it. He said I just took my parts off it, muted my parts, and then we inserted your parts into there.
And I let him do Special and Church for Thugs.
Oh, man.
Side Story. I had already got Snoop to write his verse on the record before I gave those records to Game.
Wait, Snoop was on West Side Story? That's the one that goes, Crips, Bloods.
Essays, Asian, Dominicans, Puerto Rican, white boys, Jamaican.
Yeah, Church for Thugs, I've been saying for years that this is a 50 Cent song. The hook.
Niggas keep saying they gon' heat me up. Talking that they gon' lay me down.
I've been saying for years, this is a 50 Cent hook. This is like 50 Cent's like cadence on this hook.
But when I come through, strap to see what's up. Niggas really don't want no parts of me, pal.
Glad he comes out and says it. And obviously you can see 50 Cent here as a writer. Jackson, that's 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson. He said he gave him Special, which is a great song. Again, here's another Curtis Jackson writing credit. Special is a great song too. Higher, yeah, I Can't Take You Higher. Again, that's another 50 Cent hook.
It's not that I can't stop, it's that I won't stop. I make it high.
Can we count how many songs 50 Cent is on here? We got West Side Story. We got Hate It or Love It. We got Higher, How We Do, Church for Thugs, and Special. And that's crazy. 50 literally named every single song. He remembers which songs he was on that he gave him. But then you also got to give Game some credit also because Put You on the Game, that's a great song. That doesn't have 50 Cent on it. Start From Scratch. Running, that has Tony Yayo. I thought that was a great song. But yeah, all the best songs on the album to me, Hate It or Love It, West Side Story, Church for Thugs, How We Do. This is all 50 Cent coming. This is 50 Cent Get Rich or Die Trying era, like in the middle of Get Rich or Die Trying in the second album.
Got Snoop to write his verse on the record before I gave those records to Game. And then shit went left, man.
Sure did.
You know, you go. I've seen worse shit in hip hop. I've seen like Bobby and Rowdy not be cool.
Yeah, we really don't know how 50 Cent feels about the beef with Game because he never really talks about it. Again, which is odd because 50 is very forward about everything. And all his rap beefs, even to this day, he still throws pot shots at Ja Rule. He's very candid about anything he speaks about, but he doesn't really mention the Game. And even at the time, he didn't really mention them. And even the one diss record that 50 had towards him was kind of like it wasn't like a full-blown, Wanksta or Back Down, which is the Ja Rule diss. It wasn't anything like that. So we actually really don't know what 50 thinks about the whole Game situation. Game went... He destroyed him. Stop Snitching, Stop Lying mixtape. You know what it is. Volume 3, Ghost Unit mixtape. And let's take a look at the Massacre if we can. So the Massacre, I would say a lot of people like this album. It had a huge singles, but the people who loved Get Rich or Die Trying 50 and the mixtape 50, they kind of looked at the Massacre as kind of like he's falling off, he's switching up. Because like 50 said, this is just a much more female, more singing, and 50 was dissing Ja Rule for singing, then you come on your second album singing. But 50 had songs where he was singing on his mixtapes. But again, there's a lot of sexual songs. Disco Inferno, Candy Shop, just a little bit, all hit records. But again, more sexual leaning. But 50 is saying, because on this album, instead of Disco Inferno, it was about to be Hate It or Love It with no Game. It was supposed to be How We Do with no Game. It was supposed to be Special. Church for Thugs. West Side Story featuring Snoop was supposed to be on this album. So you replace like the Candy Shop and then the Disco Inferno just a little bit with Hate It or Love It, with West Side Story, with How We Do. We talking about an album that people look at a lot differently. But this album has some good songs. In My Hood. I wanna die tonight. Piggy Bank. Needles did this beat. Shout out to Needles. I liked Out of Control. I like the joint. I like the remix featuring Mobb Deep. Yeah, Window Shopper. If I Was Your Best Friend. So it's interesting. Maybe one day I'll do a video and I'll insert all these songs that 50 were pretty much 50 Cent songs that are on the documentary, and I'll replace them with some of the songs on the Massacre just to see how that album would look. How would the Massacre look if instead of Candy Shop right here, you got Hate It or Love It? Instead of Disco Inferno right here, you got How We Do. Instead of Just a Little Bit, you got Church for Thugs. And in the intro is West Side Story featuring Snoop Dogg. And it's funny because everyone knows 50, he has really great hooks. That's what he's known for. The choruses on his songs. Game's not really known for that. So when you go and listen to Game's other albums, like The Doctor's Advocate, which is a good album, it's fine. It's not as good as Documentary, but it has good songs. But there are no, like the song structure is just completely different because there's no 50. You don't have this Hate It or Love It with this whole amazing hook with the message. You don't have the How We Do, which is again, structured, 50 game. Like they're going back and forth, two bars here, 4 bars there. And then you got this great hook that everyone remembers when they hear it. You don't have that on Doctor's Advocate. You got One Blood, which I mean is a great song, but there's really no hook. It's just Junior Reid shouting, blood, blood, blood. Wouldn't Get Far, which is again a great song featuring Kanye West, but there's really no hook. It's the sample as the hook. There's really no standout hook on this album other than Old English. And this one, it says featuring Dion. I always thought that was Nate Dogg. And you could probably find some other good hooks. I mean, I'm sure, yeah, Too Much. I think that's the song. Like you don't have that strong hook, songwriting, hook aspect in Game's music anywhere else in any of his other music, including his mixtapes, like you have on the documentary. I don't know, what y'all think about that? I would like to hear 50 actually speak about the beef with Game. Anytime he does, it's very short. It's just uncharacteristic. If he was like this about all of his rap beefs, it wouldn't be weird. But this is the one rap beef, I think it was the biggest rap beef he'd had. And I feel like he felt like he had to get a W right after this. Because literally right after the Game beef, he went crazy on Rick Ross. Went crazy. Didn't work because Rick Ross ended up becoming a huge rap star. But it felt like 50, he just wanted a W after this. Was it Dre holding him back? Like, yo, chill on this guy? Was it Game just going crazy on his mixtapes or flooding the market where 50's like, I'm not going at it with this dude. He's too good. He's too crazy. I don't know. What was it? What do y'all think it was? Anyway, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Top5rapwebsite.com. Peace.